Welcome back to a brand new section. We're not done talking about CSS3 things and things that are new in it, but our focus in this section is going to be CSS3 transformations and animations. In it, we're going to learn about how to create 2D transformations, 3D transformations for that matter, and in the process learn about the structures of how to build out a good 3D structure for an element. We're going to gain a perspective. It's really a big portion of this is going to be transformations in 2D and 3D, followed up with how to animate it all, which will be our wrapper of this section. So without further ado, let's jump right into our first lecture. Because in our first lecture, we're going to learn about 2D transformations. And in them, we're going to learn about the three main ways you create transformations: scaling, rotating, and translating. So let's jump right into it. Let's start scaling, rotating, and translating. In the same way that everything we've done in section 1, we made sure first that it works well or modestly well before we created our implementation. Same is true with transforms. Transforms in CSS enable us to create customizations to our elements. For example, in this case, I might want to transform our web visualizations and maybe rotate it a bit. If I do that, well, if the browser doesn't support that transform, then it just won't do it. But it won't create a negative experience because the user will be able to see this copy no matter what, if it's with that shadow we created previously or with the transform. So let's see, how do we create a transform? I'm going to go into our code and I'm going to search for our headline in our styles right here. So in our article area, I'm going to go ahead and just write here transform. It is that easy. When I set the transform, I could literally just go ahead and give it a command which is called rotate. And I could rotate, let's say, by 10 degrees. That's all I had to do to create an interesting transformation. And if I go ahead and click here on refresh, we'll see that now my copy is going to be basically tilted. Well, this is a lot of degrees, so I'm going to go ahead and make it 2 degrees. And I'm going to click here on refresh. So now our copy is a bit tilted, nothing too serious. Nothing that would hurt anyone. So we've done that. Let's look at a few other things that we could do with transforms. I'm going to go into our canvas area or our canvas wrapper area, and I'm going to go ahead here and start adding transforms. The main transforms that are around are the scale that enables me to control how big an item is. For example, I just made it to be half of its size. I could put there a value that is smaller than 1 to make it smaller, or larger to make it larger, and it's in percentages in a way, so 1 represents 100%. If I go ahead and save this and click here on refresh, we'll see now that our item, if I typed it in correctly, I typed transform, not transforms. This is not the Transformers movie, and I've just scaled our item down. Notice how also our space that was dedicated to the item didn't change. So although we're manipulating the item, its bounding areas, its controlling areas are still in they're not changing the whole layout of the page. Let's continue. So besides scaling, I could just put here space. We already saw rotate, but let me go ahead and set there at 10-degree rotation. And let's go ahead and save this, click on refresh. I'm going to get here the item rotated. Now imagine that I really want to skew this because let's say this copy is tilted out, and I want to push our item a little bit more maybe to the left. To do that, I'm going to use the translate option, and I'm going to go into my transformer and add also translate. And with translate, I'm literally going to put an X and Y coordinates of offsets, and I could say, okay, I want us to go 50 pixels to the left, and I also want it to go down by 20 pixels. And if I go ahead here and click on refresh, our item is going to go down a bit, and it's going to be pushed aside a little bit further. So that's it in essence. That's the basics of working with transforms, with two-dimensional transforms. We're in the next lecture going to move on into 3D, which is quite exciting. And to do that, we're first going to start preparing our stage to make it logical for us to create a 3D transformation. In this lecture, we learned how to create 2D transformations as we scaled, rotated, and translated. In the next lecture, we're going to move into the 3D world, but we're going to start off by creating the structure or the foundations that will enable us to draw something in a 3D environment. See you in the next lecture when we break into the world of 3D.